Life is full of twists and turns. There is no such thing as a straight pathway in life. Life comes in different forms and shapes. Sometimes life comes as an adventure. It comes as a challenge, as a dream, as a game, as an opportunity, as a journey, as a mountain. And life can come in any form. Someone told me, life is an adventure. Take risk. Life is a challenge. Face it. Life is a dream. Fulfill it. Life is a game. Play it. Life is a race. Run it and be competitive. Life is a song. Sing it. Life is a mountain. Climb it. And life is an opportunity. Take it. You know, in becoming everything you were meant to be in life, it takes more than intelligence. I learned earlier in life that sometimes intelligence crosses a certain threshold and it becomes useless. It can't help you any further. It takes more than one thing for you to turn out to be everything you were meant to be. It takes brain, sometimes it takes sacrifice, it takes an opportunity, being at the right place at the right time. It takes a bit of conspiracy, and then voila, you become what you were meant to be. You know, in his famous book, The Outlier, the legendary author Gladwell Malcolm said, of all the people he studied scientifically who became outliers in their field of interest, either in business, politics, government, sports, or even entertainment, it took more than talent, it took more than skills, it took more than intelligence, it took more than opportunities. A lot of things fell in place for them to become whatever they went ahead of becoming. So this is what is all about in this new series we are starting tonight. Welcome to Be Inspired with Pepe Minambo, another evening of inspiration. And before we start tonight, I'd like first of all to thank our sponsors for making this possible, for allowing us to come to your homes every Tuesday nights. Pepsi Max and Centenary Bank. And we are coming to you all the way from Lake Victoria Serena Golf Resort and Spa. Now this June, we are launching a new series on career growth and personal development. Either you are starting your career, you're at entry level, or you're at middle management, or you want to break that glass ceiling to go to the C-suite or to the head of an organization, this series will be very valuable to you because we're going to share perspective, insight, and tools to make your career a real success. And I'll be privileged to be hosting a number of top executives to come and share with us their own journey of career growth and career success. To start us tonight, I'd like to refer to one of the greatest men that ever lived, William Shakespeare. Mr. Shakespeare once said, and I quote, "Be not afraid of greatness. Some people are born great. Some achieve greatness, and others have greatness thrust upon them." Think of it. Some people are born great. There are people who are born great. They are born with biological advantages, either by the way they look, their beauty, their features. They are liked, they are chosen, they are favored. You know, people just want them around them. People give them opportunities just by the way they look. That's undisputable. You can't do nothing about that. There are also people who are born great in terms of family lineage. They come from a family where they don't need to apply for a job. They come from a family where they don't need to fight for any promotion. They're part of an inheritance that really favors them. Those are realities in life. But then Shakespeare says, some people achieve greatness. They have no privileged background. They have no privileged biological advantages. Their story is the story of rags to riches. Their story is the story of from nothing to something. Their story is the story of from shop floor to the top of the organization. Yes, there are techniques, there are tactics, there are frameworks, there are laws that when men and women follow them and embrace them, it takes them somewhere. And then finally, Shakespeare said, others have greatness thrust upon them, greatness forced on them. Greatness accidentally happened to them. They never planned for it, they never dreamed about it, and some of them did not even work hard about it. You know what? As life will have it, lady luck, right place, right time, right people, right opportunity, voila, they maximize their potential. So be not afraid of greatness. Some people are born great. Some achieve greatness, and others have greatness thrust upon them. But you know what? That's only one side of the coin. Every coin has two sides. A story was told to me about some tourists that were in Europe, and they visited some of the famous sites in Europe where great men and women came from. And upon arriving there, they asked some villagers around, they say, "Is there any great man who was ever born here?" And the villagers say, "Nope. Only babies. No great man was ever born here. Everyone who was born here was a baby. They grew in life to become great." You know what? At some point in life, we are all born equal, and the rest is up to you. You see, there is something I call the equality of choice. One of the greatest gifts God gives to you as a human being is the power to choose. You can choose to be anything. You can choose to go anywhere. You know what? Choices make men. Choices break men. And choices have consequences. And most people that have climbed to the top and summit of their career, some of them were not lucky, some of them were not pushed in, but some of them, or most of them, made deliberate choices to turn out to be everything they became in life. During our monologue, we spoke about life having many turns and twists. And I said, life is an adventure. Take a risk. Life is a challenge. Face it. Life is a dream. Fulfill it. Life is a game. Play it. Life is a race. Run it and be competitive. Life is a song. Sing it. And life is an opportunity. Take it.
Hey, wanna race? Oh, we lost you.
You wish.
The Center story started when we opened our doors nearly 40 years ago, with our roots deeply placed in the Catholic Church. We set out with the sole purpose of being the best provider of financial services in a sustainable manner, especially microfinance, to all people, particularly in rural areas. Over the years, we've grown into Uganda's biggest and fastest growing bank, with an asset base of 5.5 trillion, serving over 2.4 million customers and businesses in agriculture, microfinance sector, SMEs, women, youth and corporate segments. On our quest to drive financial inclusion, we've taken our bank closer to our customers with over 80 branches across the country and multiple banking channels, including over 6,000 agents, Center Mobile Banking, Center Online Banking, Center Visa Debit and Prepaid Cards, and MasterCard Platinum Debit Card. 2.4 million have written our story of becoming Uganda's biggest and fastest growing bank. The story continues.
Centenary Bank.
Centenary Bank is regulated by the Bank of Uganda. Customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda. Up to 10 million. Terms and conditions apply.
Centenary Bank is a member of the Center Group.
Enjoy the beautiful game of golf for leisure or competition at the beautiful Lake Victoria Serena Golf Resort and Spa. It's a hole-in-one from our world-class clubhouse with a first-of-its-kind pro shop to the right people on ground to make your golfing experience a classy affair. As you putt, drive and ace on the banks of Lake Victoria, this is Uganda's finest championship golf course.
One of the greatest needs of every human being is the desire to grow into something bigger and better. As I always say, in every seed there is a tree, and in every tree there is a forest. But not every seed becomes a tree, and not every tree becomes a forest. Many times you meet people with huge potential, but they don't turn out to become everything people thought they could become. In fact, history books is full of stories of men and women who were so endowed, but just ended up living regular lives. And this month, we are venturing into a very exciting and interesting series on career growth and personal development. Last month, we talked about transforming to full potential, where we looked at exposure, self-awareness, intentionality, and dreaming and thinking big. Now, to validate this series, I thought good to host distinguished guests, people who have walked the path, people who have walked the journey of growth and the journey of transformation. And tonight, I am so privileged and honored to host our first guest, our first mentor and coach for this series on career growth, Mr. Fabian Kasi, the Managing Director of Centenary Bank, the biggest microfinance bank in the country with an asset base of 5.5 trillion Uganda shillings, serving over 2.4 million customers with a branch network of 80 branches across the country and agent banking of over 6,000 agent points. Fabian is a leadership catalyst, strategist, governance expert, coach, mentor to young banking executives, a renowned agroforester and Rotarian, a pioneer and champion of sustainability in the country, regarded as one of the top 10 executives in the country. In 2022, he was named the best banking CEO in Uganda by the Uganda Bankers Association. Fabian Kasi is the president of the Uganda Institute of Banking and Financial Services. He is the board chairman of Buganda Broadcasting Corporation, BBS, and also the chairman of Agent Banking Company of Uganda, ABC. He is a board member at Capital Market Authority, Financial Sector Deepening Uganda, and is the chairman of Rotary Uganda Limited, a major donor and a past assistant governor. Help me welcome to this show Mr. Fabian Kasi. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Pepe, and it's a pleasure
most
to
welcome
have me.
to the show. Thank
Yes.
you very much. Mr. Kasi, I know being the managing director of Centenary Bank, leading this big bank, transforming lives in Uganda for the past 40 years, I would just like, for the sake of our viewers, for you to share with us your career story. When did you start working?
Well, thank you very much again. I finished my university education, at least for the undergraduate, in 1991. And then I started working in May 1992 at the Bank of Uganda.
Okay.
So I've been working for over 30 years. And it's probably time to pass on the baton to the next generation to ensure that, there is continuity. But of course, setting out working, it was at that time hard to know that I was aiming to become a CEO. I would be deceiving to say that that was, right at the start. But what I remember is I was always very passionate about excelling in whatever I do. And I remember even while at school, in P6, to be precise, when I became number 3 in class, you know, it was a nightmare, and I felt very bad. And of course, my parents were also very upset. So since then, I've continued with that outlook of being the best in whatever I do, and probably in the process, you know, it has come to a level where, you know, I'm destined for leadership.
Okay.
And that's how I've been leading for the last couple of years.
30 years back, Bank of Uganda, day one, you report. How was it?
Very exciting. And I remember we joined the Bank of Uganda. It was the 2nd of May, 1992. We were 6 of us, and you know, we had just finished university, getting to get used to the working environment, managing relationships, you know, being supervised and things of that nature, you know, was kind of new, but we were looking forward to it, and we knew we had to get used to it.
And at the entry level, the pool is quite big because you are so many of you at the bottom of the pyramid. What did you do differently that distinguished you from your peers, that set you at a pace of faster growth? Because I'm also aware that your career story is quite an exceptional one. Is there things that you did exceptionally that distinguish you?
Yeah, and I want to copy. I remember when you were starting this series of education, you talked about when you are in a crowd of people, don't allow to be there.
Okay.
Stand up.
Yes.
And when everybody stands up, you stand out.
Yes.
And when everybody stands out, you become outstanding. And when everybody also strives to be outstanding, you be the standard. And I kind of also followed that.
Wow.
I always wanted to be not like all the others. You know, you want always to kind of identify a niche and be good in that niche and be unique. You know, I remember when we had just started working, it was the advent of computers, use of computers.
Yes.
We hadn't done computers at school, but we had to teach ourselves. And I remember I worked very hard, and in the process, I was appointed the key person in the, you know, managing the computer room, you know, doing assessments, analysis of bank performance, because I was in bank supervision division. And you know, I hadn't done computers, but because of the passion and the hard work and being able to identify a niche where I needed to be identified, I became sort of the guru of computers, as if I had done computers.
This is very interesting because I read a book titled The Outlier, and they're talking about the story of Bill Gates, how he got familiar with computer. The same thing.
Yeah.
So they were all young people in school, but he showed a lot of interest in computer until he went ahead of his peers. So at that point, you kind of stay ahead of the curve, ahead of your peers.
Yes.
And that gave you an advantage for the next level.
Yes, indeed it does, and it should. Every time you do something you know, beyond what the rest are doing, then you are already going ahead of the others, and it is important to do it. Usually some people, you know, find comfort in moving along with others in a crowd. You know, it doesn't pay, it doesn't help. There's always a need to identify something unique. You can always be identified for.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would like you to validate this thing that I've learned many years ago, that if you're an officer, think and behave like a supervisor. If you're a supervisor, like an assistant manager, an assistant, like, so always be a step ahead of what you have right now. Is that something that you believe in?
Yes, I totally do, and that's the kind of scenario I've been explaining. You know, always, I mean, if you're all supervisors, you know, you don't want to be like one of the others. You want to be a supervisor that does something unique. A supervisor that will always be stepping up and probably take up responsibilities way beyond, you know, what you've been allocated
on their
to
job
do.
descriptions.
Yes.
Wow. I know you started career with many people, and 30 years later, of course, not everybody has become an MD of a bank. What do you think are the mistakes a lot of young professionals make at that entry level that really do not help them to grow further in their career?
Well, I guess the mistakes that you know, a lot of people make along the way, first of all, is to feel comfortable with what they have or with what they are doing. Not knowing that if you are to succeed, it is not a comfortable procedure. You need to take risks. Many people don't fear taking risks. many people fear failure, and in the process they lose out on the opportunities. I remember I'd been working at Bank of Uganda for 8 years,
Yes.
and I thought it was time to venture out
Okay.
and be exposed to other industries. And when I was talking to my friends, they were all saying, they were wondering whether I'd run mad. How could I leave the central bank, you know, with all the prestige and so on. But I felt I needed to be challenged more.
Yes.
I felt that I needed to be exposed in other areas, so that in the process I will be in position to take up opportunities as they arose. And indeed, that's what happened.
Wow, wow, wow. So career growth calls for risk taking.
Absolutely.
Wow. But a lot of people are very comfortable in their comfort zone and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yes.
Wow. Interesting. So my other question is, what would you tell someone who is at entry level right now, who is wondering if there is any future, if there is any growth? What would you advise someone like that?
Well. At entry level, if you just started working, it is important to be, you know, having a goal. You want to, you know, you need something that you are working towards, rather than feeling comfortable that you've got a job now, you know, and that's it, and then you let things move by themselves, or you are carried by the waves. You need to be the one leading the waves.
Okay.
You need to be working out a plan of what you want to be. You want to be searching for areas where you should be unique,
Yes.
where you should come up as somebody who will offer something unique and particular in that particular area, rather than being looked at like any other banking officer or any other, you know, person who has just got a job and you know, you are carried along by others. So you need to control your destiny.
Yes. Any critical career advice you got from your supervisors at entry level, or some comment that they made that years later you found out that, yeah, they were right, the things they say at that point?
Well, there are many. I remember this particular incident whereby I know I was supposed to make a report to my supervisor. Then when I made that report, I called to his office and said, I want to come and explain my report to you. Then he said, will you be moving from one office to the other, explaining your report? Let the report explain itself. It means you haven't written it properly. You need to ensure that it is self-explanatory. You don't have to follow it to every office. And for me, it was a valuable lesson, meaning that every time you are working on a report, you are trying to communicate. So communication becomes very critical. How do you ensure that you are communicating clearly, either through talking or through the reports, the writing, and so on?
So your work must speak for itself.
Your work must speak for itself.
You don't have to be there to defending your work.
Yes.
But whatever you do, people must come and whatever.
Exactly.
Wow. I'm really excited for this mentorship session with Mr. Kasi. And 4 things I've picked since I started my conversation with him tonight is, 1, being very competitive. He was so competitive as a youngster that he had to fight his way to becoming the best. Becoming number 3 was trouble for him at home. Number 2, after he got his first job at Bank of Uganda, he learned something, that the pool at the bottom is wide, but you have to stand out. So, as he has said, when everybody's sitting down, you stand up. When they stand up, you stand out. When they stand out, you become outstanding. When you become outstanding, you become the standard. So he was always a step ahead of his peers. So he went the extra mile. That is number 2 lesson I've learned from my conversation with him. Number 3 lesson is the risk. Working for the central bank as a young person is prestigious. You are so stable, you know, you have a secure job. Leaving such a place, going to the unknown, it's not for the faint-hearted, but he took the risk. Like one time I heard someone say, if God places you on a diving board and you are there wondering what next, and you hear a voice from up and God says, my son, my daughter, take the dive. When you look down at the pool, you see the pool is empty. My question is, will you take the dive, or will you get into an argument with God and say, God, come on, have common sense, put water, then I take the dive? How many of us will go into the pool without the water, hoping that we'll find the water at the bottom of the pool? Not most of us. Most of us will be comfortable at the diving board, waiting for the water to come. But the people that make it ahead or progress in life, they take the risk that most of us will not be willing to take. And then lastly, He said about the report. The report is sent to his supervisor and followed up with a phone call to say, I would like to come and explain. I love that supervisor. You can't go to every floor, to every office explaining your work. Your work must speak for yourself. It has to be undisputable. People have to come and wonder and say, hey, who did this work? Whose work is this? So, 4 key lessons. Be competitive, stand out, be the standard. And then, number 3, take the risk. And number 4, let your work speak for yourself. Those are critical success factors at entry level. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back. Welcome back. That was a very interesting conversation I had with Mr. Fabian Kasi. And I think we've all picked 1 or 2 tips that will help us further our aspirations in our careers. So, as we wind up tonight, I would like to remind you that on the 8th of July 2023, right here in Kampala, we are having a special event dubbed Inspirational Boot Camp. And the topic of that event is transform to full potential and stop sweating the small stuff. Do not sweat the small stuff. You can live your best life now. Do you have a dream that seems impossible? Then sign up for this event. I'll be joined by 2 international transformational speakers. So follow up on the show to get more details on these upcoming events. What can I say? In this new series, I'll leave you with this. There is something known as the law of cause and effect. And the law of cause and effect simply says, no one is smarter than you in life. No one is better than you in life. The reason some people are where they are is because they followed certain patterns and rituals and paths in life. In fact, if you do what other successful people are doing, you'll get what they are getting. If you don't, you won't. Because success is like a science. And I always tell people 1 + 1 in Uganda equals 2. If you go to Chad, 1 + 1 still equals 2. If you go to London, 1 + 1 still equals 2. If you go to Japan, 1 + 1 equals 2. Success is a science. There are principles, there are dynamics, there are factors that if you embrace them, no matter who you are or where you are or where you come from, you get to where other people got into. So, a point of study, in the spirit of our book review, I recommend a book, What They Do Not Teach You at Harvard Business School. Find the book, it will complement on all the things Mr. Fabian Kasi shared with us tonight. Until next week, be inspired before you expire. As we sign out, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Pepsi Max, for enabling us to come to your homes every Tuesday. Centenary Bank, our bank, for being so candid to making this program possible. And we are coming to you all the way from Lake Victoria Serena Golf Resort and Spa. Until then, good night.